Chapter 7 Best Friend Ever. After dinner, Marcus and I headed back up to my room to finish working out all the details of the game. I had already come up with most of the ideas in my head. Marcus pretty much just had to help me decide if the ideas were good or bad, or if I just needed to change them up a bit. Unfortunately, Marcus forgot that he had church, so he had to go home. I had so much excitement built up from creating my own game that I needed an outlet to release it into, so I decided to draw. I had a comic strip a while back and hadn't worked on it in a couple of weeks. Batman was in the middle of a high-speed chase trying to catch Joker. Of course, Joker wasn't playing fairly. He had just blown up a freeway bridge after passing under it. Batman had to figure out a way to get to the debris without crashing or being crushed by large chunks of concrete. As I sat at my desk, pondering possible ways to escape the danger, my mom poked her head through my open doorway. "So, did you and Marcus finish working out all the details of your new game?" she asked. "Not yet," I said. "He forgot he had church. But when we do, it's going to be the best game ever." "Can't wait to hear all about it," she said. "And, how are those apologies coming?" "Oh, they're coming along fine," I lied. "I'm just trying to get all my thoughts in order before I start to write them down. So I don't get writer's block." "Okay," she said, trying to see the paper I was covering with my arms. I don't think she fully believed what I was saying, seeing as how she was wrinkling her eyebrows as she passed on by my room. I'm just glad she had reminded me that I had to write these apologies, or I would have been in lots of trouble. I made sure to deliver my handwritten apologies to Eric and Funmaker John first thing in the morning, since Sochi was following me around like a hawk stalking its prey. I knew that if I didn't deliver them right away, she would tell Mom as soon as we got home. Eric took his, reluctantly. I guess that he thought I was going to lunge at his throat again, because he had started walking away from me backwards as soon as I started walking towards him. He only stopped when Marcus assured him that I wasn't going to hurt him. Filmmaker John, on the other hand, took his with a smile on his face. It seems yesterday's confrontation had no lasting effect on him. He even called out to me and held up his hand in a high-five position as soon as I began approaching him. It was like yesterday had never even happened at all. When it came time for recess, I found out that not only was I not able to play TJ League, but I also found out that I had lost my recess for 3 whole days. Not just recess, but lunch recess too. Apparently, yelling at Funmaker John and threatening Eric had consequences. Needless to say, I'm not having a good start to my day. Having said that, at lunchtime I couldn't wait to get into the cafeteria. Today was Sloppy Joe Day. That was not only my favorite food, it was one of the only foods that no matter if you were in the front of the line or the back, they were all the same. All that gooey, meaty sloppiness. Just thinking about it makes me drool. Sloppy Joes. If there was one thing that could make this day better, it was Sloppy Joes. I usually try to be extra nice to the cafeteria ladies on Sloppy Joe Day. I would point out how nice their hair looked, or I would point out how nice they looked, or ask if they had did something to their hair. Seeing as how Sloppy Joes were only served once a month, they almost never remembered. A simple compliment could mean an extra scoop of Sloppy Joe messiness. There was no way I was ever going to pass up that chance. But just like recess, today was different. When it was my turn, I noticed that there was no Sloppy Joes. "Sorry, TJ. I know how much you like Sloppy Joes," Mrs. Soroyan apologized, but Mrs. Lancashire twisted her ankle and dropped an entire tray of Sloppy Joe meat. "We ran out 10 minutes ago." I could tell by the sound of her voice and the disappointed look on her face that she was truly sorry. She was the nicest person you could ever meet. Somehow, she even made Vegetarian Day bearable. "That's okay, Mrs. S," I lied, as she handed me a bologna and cheese sandwich. "I'll be sure to save you one next time," she promised, as she handed me a chocolate milk that she had been hiding. "See, told you she was the nicest." "Thanks," I said as she smiled at me. Once I got my fruit and vegetables, I hurried into the lunch area. I immediately saw Marcus waving at me from our usual spot. Luckily, his teacher's name was Mr. Anderson. "Can you believe it?" I said as more of a statement than a question. "Bologna and cheese. I don't even like bologna," I complained as I dropped my plate on the table and sat down next to Marcus. "I know," Marcus said as I noticed he was hiding something behind his back. I saw Mrs. Lancashire drop the tray of sloppy Joe, he said with a mischievous look on his face. So I decided to save you half of mine, he announced, revealing what he had been hiding. You're awesome, I shouted as he handed me the sloppy Joe. I sank my teeth into that sloppy Joe goodness, when once again my day took a turn for the worst. At that exact moment, a passing seagull decided he wanted to share what he had eaten hours before, and it landed right on my sloppy Joe. Some of it even splattered into my eye. I coughed on the food in my mouth while running to the boys' restroom so I could wash my eye out with water. A supervision aide shouted at me to slow down as I ran past her. See? Told you trouble always seems to find me. So, needless to say, I lost my appetite and I couldn't play at lunch recess anyway. Even though I was supposed to sit at a pole, I decided to sit under the big tree to ponder what I had done to deserve such a horrible day. Sure you don't want to play? Marcus offered, trying to lift my spirits. We can play capture the flag and cream the other team. It sounded inviting, but I was determined to stay on my dark cloud. Besides, I had lost my recess for 3 whole days, although I was too embarrassed to tell the guys. Okay, I'll see you after school, Marcus said as he ran to join a game of soccer. Besides being an awesome friend, Marcus was an average 5th grader. Who am I kidding? The only average thing about Marcus is his height. He was the smartest boy in his class, and probably mine. He was a teacher's pet, but in a good way. He knew everyone in the office by their first name, but he still called them Mr. and Mrs. out of respect. Not to mention, unlike me, he was good at every sport. He was probably the most athletic kid in our school. He's tried to give me some tips and pointers to help me get better, but even he couldn't help someone as pathetically unathletic as me. After school, Marcus was waiting for me at our usual meeting spot at the end of the 600 wing. It was the buildings closing to the exit gate. He always beat me there since his class was 603. My class was in the 800 wing. Luckily, Mom finally trusted me enough to walk home. She still picked up my little sister Sochi since she whined that she didn't want to walk home with me and Marcus. I was fine with that. The more time away from her, the better. I know it sounds mean, but she can be so annoying sometimes. She acts all nice and princessy for everyone else. But when she's around me, that's a whole different story. She could win an acting award for her ability to change character in an instant. If only you knew her like I do, trust me, you'd agree. TJ, you doing anything tonight? He asked as we walked, his head looking down. No, why? I answered. Oh, nothing special, he said as he kicked an aluminum can. Then why ask? I questioned. I hope I didn't sound too irritated. I really was still on my dark cloud. Well, he began. He stayed silent for a few minutes. Well, what? I asked. Well, I was wondering if you wanted to work on finishing your game, he said, as he was kicking bounced off a tire of the car we were passing by. I don't know, I retreated. Oh, okay, Marcus said, sounding disappointed. Well, if you change your mind, let me know. Just then, we arrived at Marcus's house. I waved goodbye and decided to walk around the block to my house. If the day was a normal day, which it was not, I would go to Marcus's house to do my homework. His mother always had a snack ready for us. Actually, we would alternate houses every day. One day we went to my house for homework and snacks. The next day we went to his. Today I just needed a little time to myself. I thought you were going to Marcus's house today, my mother said as she entered the living room, where I had decided to continue my day on my dark cloud, laying in my dad's recliner. I was, but today has been so horrible, so I decided I wanted rest at home. I answered honestly. In your favorite place, I see, my mother observed. Anything I can help with? No, was my short answer. Normally I'd tell her how my day went, and she'd listen without interrupting. I loved it how she did that. Dad was always interrupting and trying to tell me how to fix things, or saying, toughen up, or men don't cry, or some other unhelpful thing. But today I wanted to stay on my dark cloud. Well, if you want a snack, your sister's at Thalia's house, so you can have the trail mix I made. Trail mix was one of my favorite snack foods, but even trail mix couldn't get me out of my foul mood. Besides, I was too busy focusing on Marcus's invitation. My mother stood there. I couldn't see her. I could see her out of my peripheral vision. She was probably waiting for me to jump up and race to the kitchen. After a few moments, I saw her shake her head and walk away. I don't know how long I had closed my eyes, but the next thing I knew, my mom was gently shaking me awake. TJ, TJ, wake up, she said. Huh? Oh, what? I asked, trying to rub the sleep out of my eyes. Marcus is at the back door. Do you want me to tell him you're sleeping? Mom asked. Huh? I groaned as my eyes began to focus. I looked at the clock on the cable box. It was already 5:45. He's asking if you wanted to eat dinner at his house. He said his mother made sloppy joes, Mom informed me. How could I say no to sloppy joes? Marcus truly was the best friend a guy could ever have. I got up, stretched a bit, and started heading for the back door. Make sure not to stay too long. You still have homework to do, Mom called after me. Don't worry, I won't, I shouted as I raced out the back door. I love you too, she shouted.